Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to Yoruba Nation. Today we are going to be speaking on the borrowed time that is Nigeria, right? So this article was released. I think this was released yesterday on the 7th of February, so 2 days ago. And it says Nigeria is living on extra time, says Sanusi. And just reading a little bit further, a former emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, on Monday said Nigeria is living on extra time, declaring that the country would be facing deeper challenges from 2023. So Sanusi warned presidential aspirants to be prepared for the numerous challenges confronting the country. Sanusi, who is a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and leader of the Khalifa of Tijaniya sect in Nigeria, spoke in Abeokuta, Ogun State, at a reception for him as part of activities marking the 80th birthday of Babanla Adini of Egbaland, Chief Tayo Showumi. Zanisi said, to be honest, we are living on extra time. In 2015, we were in a deep hole. In 2023, we will be in an even much deeper hole than in 2015. Those struggling to be president, I hope they understand that the problems that they are going to face are multiples of the problems that were faced in 2015. All of us have to be ready for difficult decisions. And if they're taken, we're all going to pay for them. But the solution is not for all of us to jump into politics. This country needs good politicians. It needs imams, pastors, and bishops who are going to stand up and remind them, the politicians, of the fear of God. It needs technocrats who are going to critique their policies. It needs traditional rulers who are going to speak as the conscience of the people. Everyone has a role to play, and we should try to play that role to the best of our ability. Sanusi, however, denied eyeing the presidential seat in 2023, saying he's content being the spiritual leader of the Tijaniya people. He noted that he had served in various capacities, both in the past and present, and I will forever be grateful to his God, whatever. So, I guess the thing that really strikes me with this article and the reason why, I don't know, I mean, it's good that someone is finally saying the truth, that Nigeria is living on borrowed time, because we've been saying this for the longest, but I think it was needed for somebody to come out and say, yes, this is really what's happening. But really, the idea behind him also in the process of saying living on borrowed time, not going in depth into these are the facts. What do you mean by we're living on extra time, meaning that 2015 is going to be like a piece of cake compared to 2023 and thereafter? Also saying everyone is going to suffer, which is not true. We know that the problems in Nigeria, there are people that will suffer more than others. Who are the people that will suffer more than others? The vulnerable people will suffer more than others. The people that have been exposed, the people that had no hand in the dilapidation of the country, people that didn't even understand, people that don't even speak, they're not engaged, they're not in the decision making rooms, people like the market women, people like the farmers, people like the bus riders, people like that meat seller. Those are the people that would be significantly affected. So that's my second problem with this article, right? The first is the vagueness of it. Nigerians, we're living on borrowed time. 2023 will be worse than 2015. The problems we face will be in a deeper hole. Okay, this is all cryptic. And what are you saying? Like, go straight to the point and actually list out what you're trying to say instead of talking in parables. Nobody needs that. Second, you saying that everyone is going to suffer, as though everyone is going to suffer the same kinds of, repercussions. It's false. Essentially, because we know there are people that during the answers, we heard phone calls, go into your room, grab your passport, one or two clothes, and run out. They have a private jet waiting for them at the Murtala Mohammed Airport, ready to leave that country at any moment. So stop deceiving people as though we all have equal share, like everybody's going to suffer equally moving forward past 2023. Third, referring to God, referring to we need people that will hold those people accountable, referring to just for me, I just don't know. Is this at this point in the lifespan of the country that already expired, knowing that the country doesn't have that many years left in it, You understand? And he's coming to terms with the fact that the institution, the corporation called Nigeria doesn't really have that many years in it. And you're telling us that at this point we need imams, we need pastors, we need bishops who are going to stand up and remind them, politicians, of the fear of God. Is this really what we need? You being the president of the central bank at some point. You don't have strategies for us to move forward. You're telling us that we need to pray. Like, do you understand the repercussions? The governor of central bank, do you understand the repercussions of what this is? As though we can't use data to predict the future, we can't be more constructive in the way we approach things. So these are my frustrations with this article. I mean, we already knew that Nigeria was living on borrowed time. Sooner than later, things will definitely begin to unravel, and it's already been unraveled now. But I just want to know what other people think about this while I update the article up there with something else. Go ahead and speak if you want to speak. Just grab the mic. It's an open floor. I'm gonna change the article and I'm gonna go on mute right now.
Yeah, thank you so much, my sister Ocean Breeze. I think you broke down the article really well by highlighting the vagueness of it. it. Again, it's really interesting that we have people from the north really saying these things that we all know, uh, while some of our people down south are still living in denial. Um, and the vagueness of it really is to people like us who already understand how much of a mess that we are in. It just signals to us. It signals to us how right, how correct that we are about our projections, about you know what the data, about what the numbers are telling us, about what historical antecedents of that space is telling us. It just helps to connect the dots for us, because you're not going to expect uh, Sanusi to spill the bean. You're not going to expect Sanusi to tell us that there is a looming disaster that is about to befall that country. It's just going to speak in parables, and going to be left for us to. It's going to be left for us to connect the dots by ourselves. Just give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, so that's my frustration, right, with what Tumba just said now, that we cannot expect people that have been in significant positions of power, we cannot expect them to have loyalty to the people, right? Because the people bestowed upon you that power to take up those positions. So we cannot expect you to come out and say, these are the problems. This is the reason why Nigeria is living on extra time. For somebody that has, do you understand what it means to be the governor of the central bank? Meaning that you control essentially the economy of that nation, right? Okay, Temilodu, sorry.
Yes,
Okay,
sorry,
So,
sorry. Temilulu, just give me one more minute. Sorry, I got interrupted by one of my boys. So, uh, if we really, you're right, Ocean. A beneficiary of the system would not just come and tell you how much of a problem that we are in. But the reality is that what does it mean to be living on a borrowed time? Even though yeah, he tried so hard to make his statement to be very vague, but we really need to understand what it means to be living on a borrowed time. Is exact words. What does it mean? It simply means that we have uncertainties. We are not supposed to exist any longer as a people, as a country, as a nation married together. We are not supposed to still have um, some likeness of peace, some likeness of existence, depending on how you would like to break it down further. We are not meant, probably Nigeria is supposed to be at war. And not that we are not at war, but we shouldn't be at wars. We should be at war by now, such that everybody should be able to know and see. You see how we have internally displaced people across the country and how people are fleeing to neighboring countries. Right now, Nigeria is to be such that you are not going to be able to carry out your daily activities. Go to work because you still put on your tile in the money, and you go to the shopping mall, you buy your grocery, and you come back home, and it's like nothing is really happening. And people tell you that people are being displaced, and you come up the stage and you argue with people just because it's not happening to you, it's not happening to your family. People still have that tendency to live in denial. The reality is that by now, we should not have that luxury anymore. That is what it means to be living on a borrowed time. The uh, the likeness of peace that we have is something that should not be there. But because we have that, people are being deceived that that day of evil is not going to eventually be upon us, but it's going to happen. And I'm really happy that someone like Sanusi, when our people, our home people, are striving to go and contest and wanting to be the next president, the next governor. And some of our friends and allies, they are looking forward to a day when it's going to be their man in Aso Rock, their man in states, houses of assemblies, state governors. They are looking and they are ignoring the fact that all of us can see today. They are ignoring our current realities just because of what they think they can be by being close to people in places of power. But Sanusi is telling us that we're living on a borrowed time. And I think that is something that should strike us. If a Fulani man would come out to tell you that we are living on a borrowed time, I think we're even past that borrowed time. Thank you so much. I think Temilulu would like to also chime in. Temilulu.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to say that the lady that spoke at first or opened this room was a bit, not a bit, very, very extremely unfair to Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. First of all, this is the way I see things. Nigeria is usually the elites versus we, the masses. And Sanusi is not an opportune elite. He's one of the elite elites. He's one of the core elites. He's one of the we own Nigeria elites. One of the I was brought up with money elites. He's a super elite, born with money, born with a real diamond spoon, not a silver spoon. But also, he's one of the few people that, despite the fact that they are up there, despite the fact that they have all they need, despite the fact that him being CBN governor, I'm not sure his salary as CBN governor could even take him or pay his expenses as he as a private citizen. That's what I mean by he's an elite. You understand? If you read his history very well, his family and his family dynasty and all that. But he is still one of those people that still steps forward to speak for the common man. Sanusi has been speaking since I was a CBN governor. And Sanusi doesn't speak in parables. Maybe this time he just chose to speak in parables. Sanusi speaks in facts and figures. During the period of subsidy removal, Sanusi was the only one that would come out and give you facts and figures. When there's money missing, Sanusi will come and say, so and so point, so billion naira is missing. Go and look for it. He will blow the alarm. Sanusi is the only person that when he was Emir in Kano, Sanusi stood and faced power. Sanusi, almost every public speaking event he had, he speaks truth to power. And there's a particular speech he gave that earned him my respect. I don't respect him for some things I know he has done in the past. When he was a teenager, I heard about a beheading issue on Sanusi. That's a conspiracy theory or a gist that might be true, might not be true. So I'm just pointing to the man Sanusi as an emir and as a CBN governor. As an emir, there was a speech he gave, and he warned the northern leaders. He told northern leaders that don't think the southerners are foolish. You cannot keep taking their money and refusing to educate your own people and think their own children will grow up and allow you do what you did to their parents to them. That it's high time northern leaders start educating their own children right now, because the children of the southerners that are growing up will no longer take this nonsense that is going on. You cannot be taking their resources and not and be using it. Why not investing in your own people? That investing in your own people is the will sooner or later become useless. That the southerners keep investing in their people, the northerners should start investing in their people. Sanusi was also the most vocal person against the Amajiri system. He never liked the Amajiri system. He wanted boys and girls to be in school. So you cannot, and because of that rashness, because of his constant speaking truth to power, Sanusi lost his throne. He lost his throne. What more do you want from a man? He is currently a deposed emir because what did the Ganduje tag him as? Disrespectful. He's a disrespectful northerner. He doesn't take the interest of the north to heart. Blah 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 blah. He did this, he did that, and they pulled this man from his throne and divided his kingdom, and he had to be exiled and moved to the south. But still, he is still speaking. So I find what you say against that man very very unfair, because if you even critically look at what he said, Sanusi is giving you the picture of true federalism. What he is saying is that forget presidents. In an ideal situation, the focus should not only be on the president. Everyone has a role to play, including the traditional rulers, being the voice and conscience of the people. And he proved that example when he was a traditional ruler before he was deposed and exiled. He spoke the voice of the people. He also said that technocrats should criticize policies. The government is run via policies. Policies are the enabling documents. Stand up and say this policy is not good. For example, the way some people are speaking out about the electoral amendment bill. He said people should be bold and speak up. Even Buhari himself, in almost every interview Buhari gives, Buhari always attacks a set of people, and Buhari always attacks the elites. Buhari always says that this country is one of the reasons why this country is the way it is because the elites do not wake up to their responsibility. And that's the reason why Buhari was at the inaugural committee of there's a committee that was set up 2 weeks ago for something 2023 transitional committee made up of different elites selected from different states and different spheres of government. Buhari came to inaugurate that committee. It's being chaired by the head of this day. That committee should look into how Nigeria can transition from this government and that government without this country breaking down into chaos. So if Sanusi is talking to the elites and telling the elites that you have a role to play, he is right. Because if the president keeps saying, forget how much we hate Buhari, that sometimes Buhari also makes good points, especially when he's rejecting the electoral amendment bill. Buhari's points for rejecting that bill were good. Buhari can just fuck up at times too, but always learn to separate your hatred from people from when they are saying the truth and when they are saying facts. You understand? So again, don't blame Sanusi for saying everybody at different leadership positions have responsibilities to play. There is currently a crisis in Ife. The only place the curfew by himself. That is a responsibility. And that will quell the insecurity situation in that his region. You understand? Because insecurity is local. Insecurity is not federal. You don't fight insecurity at federal level. You fight insecurity at local level. So if every Oba woke up to the responsibility and we're not just looking at how to collect dollar during election period, quenching insecurity issues in each particular region based on their level of power and the sections they've been given to cover, it will help us a lot. But
Absolutely. I
the
have a
main issue,
question for you, Mr. Temilolu. So, what are your thoughts about what Sanusi said? I appreciate your love for Sanusi, and maybe we differ in the way we
I
approach
don't love
issues. And that
Sanusi. I wait,
I
wait, hold on.
one
I
second,
don't love Sanusi.
right? One second. I appreciate your admiration for Sanusi, I guess I should say. I guess my
Okay.
question for you is what are your thoughts about his comment about Nigeria is living on extra time? Because that's really what the room is about. What do you think about him saying Nigeria is living on extra time? What should be the way forward? How should Nigerians feel at this moment when someone who has been in the corridors of power is saying that Nigeria, the institution, the structure is living on extra time? How should we feel?
And he's saying he's not saying anything that nobody. He's saying what everybody knows. There's nothing special in what he's
But
saying.
what
It's
does
just
that
that
mean to you? What does
he's not one of the
everybody know?
masses saying it.
What does
He's one of the
everybody know?
elites that are
Right.
saying it.
But what does everybody know? Because all of us know
Everyone
different
knows that
things.
the country Nigeria needs there are two ways forward. Either this country disintegrates or this country restructures. If the country does not disintegrate, which I'm not for, I'm for restructuring, I'm not for everyone going their own way. I'm for restructuring. If the country does not get restructured, all these problems we're having, even if Jesus becomes the president tomorrow, Nigeria will never be good. If Jesus himself becomes the president, Nigeria will not work except the constitution is reviewed and restructured, except there is a constitutional conference where every region is allowed to come, like what Jonathan did the last time for during the confab conference. Every region is allowed to grow at their own pace, manage their own resources, and power is devolved from the center. That is what can make Nigeria work. If not, we're actually living on borrowed time. If you watch the news every day, everybody keeps shouting. Some people are shouting president, president, but another set are shouting that it's not about president. It's about restructuring. It's about the constitution. It's about fairness, equity. You cannot take resources from one region and use it to develop another region. Do you understand? So what he's saying is common knowledge. Okay, not to everyone, to some, it's common knowledge, but some people are interpreting it different ways. Some people are interpreting it from the angle of this country will break up. Some people are interpreting it from the angle of this country will not work unless it's restructured. So that's it. That's what I mean by it's common knowledge.
Absolutely, and that's really the crux of this issue, isn't it? Because the matter here is that every Nigerian should know that Nigeria is living on extra time, and Sanusi is saying that Nigeria is living on extra time now. For different people, different people have different pathways to
Yeah,
this.
he's doing his job by speaking the truth, but
Right,
he's not a lawmaker.
right.
He's not one of your rubber
No
stamp
one.
National Assembly members that will make
This
the
room is
motion.
not centering Sanusi as a key player. The room is centering the comments he makes about Nigeria living on extra time, and that's what I want to focus on. And I hear you talk about restructuring. I do, if you want to engage me further, and of course you can choose not to, and that's totally fine. I already appreciate your contribution so far. What is the pathway to restructuring Nigeria for you as an individual?
There are two ways to restructure Nigeria, either by the gun or by the book. The rate at which things are going, it might be by the gun at the end of the day.
Oh,
But
I
the
just want
ideal
to
way
make
will
sure
be by
that
the
the
book.
comments you make are yours. Um, just putting that disclaimer because the room is on replay. So your comments, any individual comments, it's individuals' comments, not reflective of the comments of other people in the room or
No
any of the
problem.
moderators. All right, please continue. Sorry for the interruption.
There's no problem. So looking at history from time immemorial, let's say from the time of, I don't want to use the word Adam and Eve, let's say from the time of the Greeks, let's look at the time of, let's start from heaven. Let's start from heaven itself, the point of creation itself. What the devil asked God for was restructuring, was for God to devolve power. And God says no. The devil tried negotiation, God refused, and the devil went for the gun. So revolution has always been either of two ways. Either you negotiate or either you go for the gun or for the sword or whatever. That's the standard fact of life. There's no two ways about it. There's no two ways about it. When it will happen, no one knows. But you either sit down to discuss, and if you don't sit down to discuss, it devolves into conflict. Simple. There's no sugarcoating or there's nothing special about what I just said. That is why countries have gone to war over time, and that's why there have been civil wars in different countries over time. It's usually, sometimes some people refuse to go to the table to negotiate. That's what the problem is. It's usually good to come to to the table and try to negotiate things out. And if you look at even the Nigerian Civil War, Ojuku's first approach was not by the gun. Ojuku's first approach was to discuss. And that's why they all flew to Ghana, Ojuku, Gowon and co. and signed the Aburi Accord. It was after they flew back in and they felt, oh, they were deceived or the Aburi Accord was not being followed. Then they went for the gun. But even Ojukwu in his older age, he realized that the gun cannot work. And he told the people that the gun will not work. Let's go through the system. And that's why Ojukwu tried to contest for the presidency. Although he lost, then I think a few years later he died after he lost. So it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. You either discuss, you negotiate, and if you don't discuss, you can't negotiate. It turns into a war. It turns into a civil war. No matter how much you want to push, you can only postpone you can only keep pushing, pushing back the judgment day. We can push it back for 100 years, for 200 years, we can keep pushing it back. But as long as there's dissatisfaction, one day people will pick up arms against you. And that was the signal that NSAS gave. NSAS was a spark to show what is possible when there's dissatisfaction. That's what NSAS was. When there's dissatisfaction, people will come out and people will face you. Look at what's going on in sub-Saharan Africa right now. Coups everywhere. Almost every week, a successful coup or an attempted coup. A successful coup it has happened in Guinea-Bissau, it has happened in Gambia, it has happened all in the past 1 or 2 months. Coups everywhere. I around the same region called Nigeria, and if you go and ask them what is causing the coup, they will tell you insecurity, tribal something called tribal invasion by Fulani or whatever. I think the most recent one in Burkina Faso, those were the reasons given. Insecurity, heightened insecurity, and tribal militias attacking the people, high rates of kidnap and all that. The people were fed up, and the military took the gun. So it is happening already. It's happening already. It's moving. And Buhari released a statement allaying fears of a potential military coup and all that. Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
You can allay fears. But the truth is the truth. People are disgruntled. You need to come to the table and negotiate. What do you want? How do we make this country truly federal? And
Absolutely. And
when
if I
power,
may, I
when
love that. Can I okay, finish your thought and then
I'm
I want to
saying
engage.
why this country is smelling, this country and countries around this region are smelling of coup. It's very simple. To do a coup in the USA, you need to take every county, you take every constituent, you take every state, you take every institution before you go for Washington and take the presidency. If you go to Washington and just hold down the president and all that, you're wasting your time. You can't make move in NATO in the US or in countries where power is properly devolved. But in countries where power is concentrated, the stronger the center becomes, the more ripened that center is for a coup or for a takeover or for a bloody revolution. Because once that center is so powerful, once you can take the president, if you take Aso Rock right now and take Buhari, you've taken Nigeria. You don't need to take anywhere else. Just take Aso Rock, take Abuja, take Buhari. Game over. Every other body will fall in line because the center is too powerful. But once the center is less powerful and you take Buhari or the Anaso Rock, you're wasting your time because Lagos will not answer you. Even if you come and you take Lagos, Ikeja will not answer you. Even if you take Ikeja, Ikeja LCDA, GRA will not answer you because power is devolved and there are
Right.
structures everywhere.
Absolutely.
You
Just let
understand?
me let me let me come in here real quick and let me just say this. So I think it's only fair that I share with you my ideas of how I think that we can deal with this Nigeria living on extra time, um this cryptic message that is being passed across to the people as though the people don't deserve to know how to prepare for whatever is coming, right? So personally, I'm for self-determination. Simply put, self-determination, the ability to determine your future. And what that means for me is the independence of indigenous nations that are entrapped in the contraption that is called Nigeria. Now, for me, I don't believe in war. I'm a peaceful person. I believe that we can attain things peacefully. All the world wars we've had, all of the wars we've had, absolutely no need for that. We're human beings, we're not animals. We are supposed to be the most intelligent of all the species ever created, or I don't know, Big Bang theory, whatever you believe in, of all the species that ever existed in this earth, right, in the confines of earth. Now I don't know about Mars and all the planets and whatever species are there. People believe in aliens. That's not my thing, but you know what I mean. I feel like we can have dialogue. And I love when you said dialogue. I came in real quick to let you know that hold that thought. I have something to say. I want to piggyback off of that. If you asked me how I think that we can get what we need to get, I feel like we can get it through a referendum. It's not the first time countries have done this in the past. I mean, even Egypt was, don't forget, in about 8 years ago, involved in an Arab Spring, right? They just came out of this gross instability, but they're also now thinking about rebuilding. And they where the president is acknowledging the need for a referendum to restructure to review the constitution before. Egypt, just like Nigeria, is going into their elections, national elections, in 2023. But this year they're looking to engage in a referendum to engage in a constitutional review in June, right? And so this is a country that, I mean, when you think about internal stability, whatever that means to you, I mean, Nigeria is not necessarily internally stable. We're essentially in a state of emergency. I mean, there is statistics showing that more people have died in Nigeria than have died in Syria, and we know that Syria is actually in war. Well, we like to think, deluded, that we are in peace and everything is fine. I mean, I beg to differ. But how do we go through this? Can we at least have a referendum? Is this too much to ask through dialogue before we go into the electoral process? Why is this important? Because the constitution that supports the electoral process and legitimizes the government of Nigeria is illegitimate. We all know that the constitution is problematic. The constitution is actually illegal. The constitution was reinstated by the military, the PRC, and people did not know what constitution they were standing behind. So when the constitution says we the people, it's in fact not we the people, but a select few, right? Some military men in a room making decisions on behalf of what we now know as at least 160 million people. That's unfair. So, can we at least change that constitution, first of all? And also, in restructuring this constitution, can we remove the 68 exclusive list? Like you said, I mean, you did mention yourself, Sanusi once said, according to you, and I quote you, that the children of the Southwesterners and the South, essentially, that you have so taken advantage of over time, will rise up one day and demand for their rights. And this is what is happening. 68 exclusive lists that so grossly marginalizes the South in so many ways. Can we remove those? That's my second ask. My third ask, can we make this constitution such that if you plan a coup, you will be held accountable? Because right now, the constitution does not hold you accountable for a coup. Those are my three asks for now. Of course, it might evolve. I might increase it. I might, might change. But right now, can we have that this year? Is that possible? Can we start talking about that? I'm not done. I just want to finish my thought because I think it's only fair that I tell you how I think we can reach there because I asked you. And so I just want to exchange that information with you. I believe in peaceful dialogue, and my cohorts as well, my colleagues, the people we talk, the people that we on this app, we talk about self-determination and educate people. We believe in peaceful dialogue, and that's how we envision this, and that's what we are asking for. Let's have a referendum. Let the people decide if we are indeed a democracy where the people, power to the people. The Federal Republic of Nigeria, I mean, somebody made a joke that's the countries that are the most oppressive that have the word Federal Republic. I mean, when you look at North Korea, Republic of North Korea, come on. So that's my thoughts. And so when we get, and then, oh, my fourth ask, sorry, there's one more, and this is the last one, I promise. Include self determination for indigenous nations in the constitution so that we can actually go after whatever person you want in power, whatever, we can actually go to the polls and vote and see if people want to continue to remain in the contraption that is Nigeria. Now, call me deluded. Call me deluded because I believe in peace, because I believe we can achieve things through dialogue, because I don't believe in the ideology of engaging in violence. I think that we can, as humans, make things work, right? Those are my four asks. Not too much, and I think for most of my cohort or my colleagues, that's our ask, right? We're not asking for too much, but all of a sudden it becomes so complicated for some people to understand, and people push back and people complain and people talk about violence and terrorism, and we're not understanding who the real terrorist is it the people that are peacefully asking for self-determination, or the people that pick up guns and use state apparatus to bully people into silence, the people that want to tell people, we don't want you to know your history, we don't want you to know where you're coming from, so you cannot be conscious, right? We cannot raise your consciousness, you cannot be liberated. So guess what, if you happen to mistakenly be within the confines of this contraption, we will find you and we will arrest you and we will throw you in a dungeon and we'll make a mockery of you. So I don't know what your thoughts are about that. And I don't want to make you, if you don't feel comfortable engaging, that's totally fine. We can just move on. But those are my thoughts. And I hope that you understand where I'm coming from.
Please, I just have a question. Greetings, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever we are. Uh, Temilolu, I'm kind of confused listening to you. I try to put my head on where is it actually you stand, and I just want a little bit of clarity to know how to engage you and understand the perspective at which you are coming from. I just want to ask, do you believe in one Nigeria working as an entity? And I also heard you talked about restructuring. And in my own view, I think the problem of restructuring is there are some certain elements or certain group of people, or we can also say certain hegemony somewhere that they are holding to specific powers that they don't want to relinquish, and they don't want to give it up. Now, if you are talking about restructuring, you are talking about recalibrating the power structure that already exists in Nigeria. And as we know it, if we want to be really sincere with ourselves, there are some group of people or group of region that will really bear the full brunt of it, either economically, politically, or however we want to look at it. Now, if you say you believe in restructuring, now, how do you intend, or how do you see a possibility achieving this restructuring in a legal route? Now we don't have to talk about, because we don't have to say buy the gun, because if we say buy the gun, there is nobody that wants to take up gun to go and fight restructuring. I think it's absurd to fight instead of me to fight for restructuring. Then I stay on my course, and I know what I want. I believe Yoruba nation should stand on its own, and it's high time we separate our politics from the politics of the Fulani people and the Igbo people and every ethnic nation in Nigeria. I have no apology to that. We can have economic structures as it is done outside in the European Union, even with the United States and Canada and Mexico. They all have economic arrangements. So that is not a problem for me. I see a viable, economic, stable Africa. it benefits my Yoruba nation. So that is not a problem for me. But the issue of my political decision, my ideology, my value on how I believe that my nation should go, I believe that it should not be in the thinking of a Fulani man. I prefer being ruled by my own. It makes it easy for me if I see a Yoruba man ruling me, because I believe we have a principle on which a stupid man cannot head me. It is not in our nature. It is not in our value system. Got to, yeah. So when I cannot be ruled by somebody, lawless, someone that that doesn't speak sense. No, it's on Yoruba like. So it's on Yoruba like. So what I'm saying in essence is, now these are the pathways. I've looked at the pros and the cons of what is beneficial to me. You see, when we talk about restructuring, I want you also, Temilori, to look at it that AD, people like Tinubu in 1999, when they won all the election in the Southwest, it was on the platform of restructuring. It was on the platform of restructuring because Nadeko then, this is not the 1998, Yoruba people were already fed up with the system, and we held up a political bloc under the Alliance for Democracy to have a structure to demand for restructuring, because we believe we wanted to have our own regional government. So people that say when Yoruba people come together, they won't work together, absolute bullshit. We came together, we won all the southwestern states with our ideology, with our own, vision of what we wanted to do. Same structure like the action group, because we had a vision of what we wanted our society to be like. But also, there was a problem of Nigeria always coming in as disruption. Nigeria has been a disruption to the Yoruba people as a race. Now, we can't get this thing politically. Now, how do you intend to factor in these things that we've done in the past? How do you expect us now going forward to get restructuring? And I don't know also if you want to talk about when you say is Ocean try to, I don't know, demean what Sanusi said. I think it's just been factual that if you look at the political terrain right now, you give an Igbo presidency two, which for me, in fairness, if Nigeria was to be a just and equity, a just and fair nation, yes, you can look at it that yes, they deserve it. Even if I'm against rotation, but on the balance of how things are worked out in Nigeria, yes, they do deserve it. Now, what happens to the agitation of the Southwest? Will it get more, or will it reduce? And now we'll even have more backing of our political elites, which right now they are trying to play the politics. Now you give it to the Igbo man. What happens to the Boko Haram ideology? What happens to the ISWAP? What happens to the bandits? What happens to the herdsmen killing everywhere along Niger, in Kwara, in Kwara, in Kogi, everywhere, in Ondo State, even in Ogun State? Very soon they will be in Lagos. They're everywhere. So how does a Peter Obi presidency solve this kind of question? Now, this kind of puzzle. Sorry, I just received. So
Yeah,
please let me just just
Songo,
respond. I just
Let
have a
me
call
see
to just
something
Songo,
take.
from
Thank you.
Songo.
another angle.
Wait, Songo, we're going to come back to you so that you can continue from where you are. Temilolu, can you please answer some of these questions, please?
Um, there are some questions that have been asked that I will need a lot of time to put my thoughts together to be able to give a concrete answer. But let me just tell you what, based on the questions that have been asked, let me tell you what I believe in and what I don't believe in. I'm Yoruba, I'm a Yoruba Ninu, but I don't believe in Yoruba nation. I don't believe in Biafra. More or less, I don't believe in Nigeria. You know what I believe in? I believe in Africa. I believe we have been so conditioned to think into silos that everyone is failing to step back and see the big picture. I listen to Professor Lumumba a lot, and there was this lecture he gave, and it opened my eyes. Apparently, Awolowo, Nkrumah, and some other guys from, I don't know, before Fumilayo's time, I guess, they were all friends. They usually had meetings in Jamaica and some other countries when before each of them now came back home to start championing independence. That's why most of these countries are they having independence 1 year after, 6 months after, 3 months after, because they all planned it together. It was all planned. And Nkrumah was of the opinion there was this there were two groups, the groups that devolved into the OAU, and another group that one was I think headed by Emperor Selassie of Ethiopia, and there was the Nkrumah faction. And there was this conference they had in the 60s or 50s or so. I can't really remember. About, I think it was in the 50s, about the way forward for Africa. And remember Nkrumah's speech, in a way. Nkrumah's speech was that before that meeting ended, we should not live here without one African currency, one African president, one African parliament, one African army, and the likes. You understand? Because it doesn't make sense from you living here, going to Togo, you have to get another passport, you have to get another phone number, you have to get another worthless piece of paper. From Togo, you go to Cote d'Ivoire. We've been so conditioned to thinking into silos, thinking into breaking apart, that we're not saying that when you take a piece of broom and you break it, it breaks easily. But when you take a bunch of broom and you try to break it, it's hard to break. What we need is regional independence, but we still need that centrality. That centrality is still needed. And it's an Africa problem, it's not a Nigeria problem. It's an Africa problem, but all of us is, no, once we stay on our own, oh, we're good. See, you think if the urban nation happens today, there will not still be inner wranglings. Igesha will say no, they are not doing. Egba will say no, they want their own independence, they will go. Within the Egba too, another group will say they want their own. Then it will continue like that, it will never stop. Each region just needs to be able to go at their own pace, but the entire continent needs to actually speak as one, because that's when we will show the world that we are actually the real powerhouse. With this, the entire continent is so fragmented that that's why Africa is just free for the pickings, and people just come and pick what they want, and we just keep fighting against each other. Yeah, Yoruba, yeah, Igbo, yeah, this, yeah, that, and we're just so stupid. We're failing to step back. We're failing to step back and see the real big picture here. The real big picture here is that we all need to be able to grow at our own pace, but we also do not need to be fragmented. We do not say, Yoruba nation, I carve myself away, I'm on my own. Oh, Biafra, I carve myself. Do you think if Biafra happens today, do you think those people is a solution for them? They might even get into more trouble than what they currently are right now. You understand? So my challenge is just, I'm not for the thinking of when you move away or when you cut yourself out, you are good to go. No, I believe that we shouldn't be further integrated. West Africa, if not anything, West Africa alone should be a country on its own, but with each region moving at its own speed, each region contributing their quota to the center. What everyone wants, Biafra, Yoruba nation, everything just means one thing. What Biafra means is fairness and equality. What the Yoruba nation means is fairness and equality. What Arewa nation means is fairness and equality. That is what everyone is looking for. The average man shouting Biafra just wants to be able to wake up, go out, have a successful day, come back, have security, have shelter, have food, have his roads working, pay his taxes, and see dividends of what he's paying for. You know that if he has 1 naira in the bank, it won't be devalued to have half of his worth the next day. That is what the average Biafra man wants. Is how he now feels it, how he feels he can express it is okay. You know what? I think if I have my own nation, I won't have to be sending my own money to the center and seeing another person spending my money while I suffer. That is just what that is the basis of this whole fight. So if you have a sit down where how much is coming to this country, this is it. How are we dividing this stuff? If there is injustice, how do we ensure there is justice? How do we ensure there is
Right.
fairness? How do we ensure there is equality? This region cannot be producing this and now be suffering while this person is enjoying this person's sweat. Some
Absolutely.
group of people will not be the elites in Nigeria chopping all the money while some people are
Absolutely.
suffering. So will
Temilolu,
always be that
No, no, no. Don't
Temilolu,
interrupt him. I just want. Oh, there we. Okay, sorry.
hush,
Go
there
ahead.
will
hush on,
always be that
please. Temilolu,
anger.
Temilolu, you are not answering any of the
Yeah.
questions. You are not answering any of the questions. You were asked direct questions. Can you please address those questions, please? Thank you.
Otumba, Pardon me if I may comment.
Please, yeah.
So yeah, no, he did answer the question. He said, if he will need time to go study it and address it, then he followed up with his own thoughts. So he answered it that he doesn't have an answer pretty much yet.
Okay, I think we
Uh,
can move on then.
yeah,
Right.
no,
I,
you know,
I
the
do
guy,
want to appreciate Mr. Timilolu for engaging and okay, I'm gonna let me mute my mic. Mr. Lukata, please go ahead.
yeah, thank you. You know, in many ways, I appreciate what Temilolu, his submission. You know, first, I appreciate that he was honest that he did not have a good grasp of the issues that Mr. Shango brought to light. And then he went on to give his thoughts, and with his thoughts, it further betrayed his lack of understanding of the issues. So, Mr. Timlulu, the thing is, you see, all these things you're saying, that's what we all want. But there's a concept called system integration. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So, system integration is when you take a bunch of varied ideas and concepts and you bring it together to make one whole thing that is fully functional with all the various parts well integrated. And that's the idea of this African nation you're talking about. The truth is, ultimately, that is what we want. But to get there, you have to first build the component parts to the optimum functionality. And then you navigate how you integrate part by part until you build the whole. So now, if we say we don't want Yoruba nation, we African nation, we want to integrate, is it this dysfunctional Nigeria that you have highlighted what is going on that will now integrate with a dysfunctional Niger, with a dysfunctional Mali, with a dysfunctional Benin, with a dysfunctional Togo, right? So what you're going to get at the end of the day is scrap metal. You, right? So, what I'm trying to say is we're, we're saying the same thing, but some of us, we have taken the time to study it to the granular level and figured that, okay, for us to integrate this system so that we can have this glorious utopian Africa, we have to take the original organic components of Africa and optimize them one by one. Then we integrate it. If my roads are bad in Itaogbolu and I'm complaining that Abuja is too far, is it when the capital is in Addis Ababa that they will now fix the road?
That is exactly what I said. What you are saying is exactly what I said.
Exactly, I know. I'm saying what you're saying. But what you are missing is the concept of effective system integration. So when you hear people talking about Yoruba nation, it is not that we are blind to the idea of a greater collective. No, it is that we understand that before you talk of the greater collective, you have to talk about the optimized unit first. So when these efforts are not out of bigotry, it is not out of just some sort of sheer blind ethnocentrism. It is us realizing and recognizing the facts for what they are. Yorubaness will not go away today or tomorrow. People are emotionally attached, psychologically attached, spiritually attached to their original organic ethnic identities. So instead of us denying that, what we now do is, okay, let us work with that, optimize that. And then the Igbo man, the Hausa man, the Ashanti man, everybody optimize your own. Then we come together to the table and say, guys, I am good by myself, but I could be better together. Then we negotiate that togetherness. This is Europe that you see that is working. This is what happened. When they had their big, unwieldy empires, they were always at war until they broke into their component units. as granular as possible ethno homogeneous ethno-linguistic nations. And now they renegotiated terms of engagement, and that is why you have this prosperous EU that we are all now aspiring to. So, my brother, what I'm saying in essence is we understand your point. It is you that do not understand that we have done the due diligence in figuring out what is wrong with the system, what is the reason for the
I
injustice
actually do have an
played out.
answer, but I'm not. I'm sorry, someone is meeting me. I'm not sure anyone wants to
I
hear
did.
what
I
the
muted
answer
you.
is.
Please let Olukotun finish, please. Thank you,
Okay.
Temilolu. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm only responding to what you said. At that time, you said you didn't have an answer. So we have done the due diligence. Wọ́n ní ohun tó bá wéwu, ohun tó bá jọun la fi ń wéwu, right? We say we want a prosperous nation, we want a prosperous Africa. Then you look at other places that is like that. No need for us to reinvent the wheel. Just copy it. If Europe is prosperous, what have they done? They have small ethno-linguistic nations. You know, they fought wars before. Now they're broken up into smaller nations. Now they're reintegrating. They're prosperous. Why do we want to reinvent the wheel and be trying something that has failed and failed and failed, not only in Africa, but in other parts of the world? So I'll yield for now.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to say. I didn't want to say this because someone has warned me that this room is on replay, but who gives a fuck? Sorry about my language. So there's a short-term solution. I know what I said was grand, utopian, ideological, and all that. Fine, agreed. If we are to address the real issue on ground right now, if we are to address the real issue on ground now, and we're going to say what is the solution, the only visible solution,
Okay.
the
Mr.
only
Temilolu,
true and
don't
very
say
honest
mm-mm.
solution.
Listen to me. No, I'm gonna mute you right now for your own good. Sorry, I'm gonna mute you right now for your own good. I know you
It's not what
don't
you
give
think
a
I'm going to
F
say.
word.
It's not what you think I'm going to say.
Okay, don't say anything that will be used against you or can be
Yeah,
used against you. I don't care how you feel that
it's
you don't give a
it's
F
not what
word.
it's not what you think I'm going to say. If you really
Okay.
want to know the only way forward, you need to go on YouTube and listen to Adeyika grandson. He's currently in jail,
Okay,
but
sir,
listen to
sir,
Adeyika grandson and you
sir,
have your
sir. I'm
answer.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I am so
Ocean,
sorry.
Ocean,
Yeah.
please let's go
Let's
back
move
to
on.
Songo. Let's go back to Songo. Songo, can you please make your submission and we go ahead? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so
Can
much,
I speak
Osunwa.
now?
Especially just I will be very quick. I'll be very quick. And just comment on what Mr. Sanusi said. I think it's clear to see for people still shouting even giant of Africa, we have turned to now a country that we have to even borrow to pay salaries. So in essence, we can't even take care of our own recurrent expenditure. We are not talking about capital project right now. Nigeria can't even pay for its recurrent expenditure. And the war is getting more and more expensive. And the war is not even, it's getting worse. And for the past 20 years, Nigeria has become broke in fighting Boko Haram. Now we have to fight ISWAP, we have to fight. So, security, a lot of our resources as a country has gone into this. And that is why maybe we are telling some people to maybe they have to start to have a vision and look into the vision and try to maybe have a country structured like the UAE, like Saudi Arabia. Maybe this can solve some of their teething problems. Maybe at least their so-called ideological differences within them as an entity, they have a large space of land bigger than our own land. Then they can have a structure and just build on what, because as it is right now, I think it's clear. It's clear. We all know where Nigeria is heading, and I think as Yoruba people right now, that is my prerogative. I don't care about who is a Fulani man. I am first Yoruba. I see the world from a prism of a Yoruba man, and there is a threat right now, even in our own land. We have our people as far back as far as now Yewa in Ogun State living in IDP camp. That touches me. That is a problem, because it can be my brother, it can be my sister, any Yoruba man in anywhere I see that person as a family, as an extension of me, So yes, Nigeria is living on borrowed time. There is no doubt about it. But the thing is, we need more of our own Yoruba people, like Temilolu, he has gone, to see that there is a threat, and it's high time we put our own house in order so that when this thing eventually comes, at least we have some kind of a shock effect, that it will not be brutal on our people, and at least we can kickstart and try to rebuild on something and have a new vision to have a better future. Thank you so much.
My sister Kurikosun, I think you.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
I also have something to say to Temilolu about the idea of Pan Africanism. There's nothing wrong with it. Mr. Olukotun have answered him that we all want that eventually, but you cannot for example, I always like to use this ideology, right? This analog that there's no way you can love somebody else without loving your own self first. So you have to develop a sense of pride in you, in within you, to be able to extend that to somebody else. So you said you're not for Yoruba Nation. It's okay. That's your own opinion. That's your own view. You said you're not for Biafra. That's okay. You even said you're even not for Nigeria. You know what you're for? You're for Africa. Um, without insulting you, this is not, I don't want to, I'm not insulting you, but to me, I don't think that makes sense because what is Africa? Who are Africans? Um, you can't talk about Africa without talking about the indigenous people. The indigenous people are people like me and you, Yoruba people, Igbo people, Ibibio, Hausa people, and the list goes on. So we are the Africans, so-called Africans. So you cannot say Africa without talking about us. Now, another thing is you have to understand that this is a war of ideology, okay? And this is a clash of civilization. We're talking about jihadists. Now, some people are saying you don't have to use that example because it's not good enough to split or it's not good enough to break up. This has not started today. This did not start today. This started a long time ago. There is a history, right, that the Fulani have an agenda of Islamizing the whole region. Okay, and I'm sure you know a bit of history. I'm not an historian, but this is something that has been happening years ago, and the Europeans know about this. The British knows about this. And even the contraption itself, Nigeria itself, is an agenda. Okay, there's an agenda behind it, and the Fulani, okay, the jihadists are capitalizing on this, okay, to Islamize the whole region. Some people might think is a myth. Some people might think is a conspiracy theory. But however you want to think of it, look at what is happening now. Look at the hundreds of people that are being massacred on a daily basis in northern Nigeria. Look at how unsafe southern Nigeria is becoming. All right, this regional government, this decentralization that you're talking about, we've once practiced it. It didn't work. Now, if you put people of different ideologies in within the same in the same in the same country, there's gonna be problem. There's gonna be Yorùbá ní àròkọ sọ́dọ̀ olúkálùkù fẹ́ roko sọ́dọ̀ tiẹ̀ ni. So we're talking about nepotism. We're talking about tribalism. We're talking about all kind of things because what do they do? They put the minorities over the majority. Who are the minorities? We know who the minorities are. Who are the majorities? The majorities are the owners of the land. And moreover, we are talking about the Sokoto Caliphate, all right? That whose agenda they want to start bringing up now. So when you're talking about Pan Africanism, all right, how do you want to build a global African, one Africa with one currency and one this and one that, when the individual country, the contraction, for example, Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Benin Republic, Kenya, and all these other places, in within those countries, you have different nations that are having problems within each other. So now imagine one Africa with it's not going to happen. And the idea of African unity is an oxymoron. It's fallacy. It's false. The only way African can unite, the only way, in my own opinion, that Africa can unite is by individually. Somebody gave that example of different countries, different European countries, individually having a sense of their own identity, having self determination, building a strong unit, and then in the long run, coming together and forming a union. That union does not necessarily have to be a country. It can be, for example, you have the European Union, you have the African Union, But as it is right now, the system that has been placed before us, that is placed before us, it's not working. We've tried this for hundreds of years, at least for over 100 years now. It's not working. So that's my question. How do you think your idea of Pan Africanism, one Africa, can work when the individual African countries, or countries like Nigeria, Togo, Ghana, and blah, 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 in within those countries, you have problems because all these nations were put together that has different ideologies, maybe similar cultures, but the fact is they're all fighting for resources. We're like crabs in a barrel, right? You're all fighting for resources because a system of divide and conquer, a system of divide and conquer that the British put together, the European put together and gave to us. So that is just my own opinion, my own contribution. If you can answer that, that would be nice. How do you think Africa will work? One Africa will work when Nigeria is not even working. You need to fix your own home first. You need to go back to the basics, go back to the roots, fix it, build yourself, and then it's like baby steps. You can't be eating, you can't give bones. Your baby cannot be eating bone. They start from like milk, and then you mash up their food, and then eventually you keep going. That's the way it is. You can go from top down. You have to come from bottom up. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my sister Korikusun. Dr. Shushayo, are you still there? Ocean Breeze, are you there? Okay.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
1 second. I'm here. Thank you so much. I want to kind of refresh the room, make some disclaimers. This room, our rooms are very often recorded on replay, and for several reasons, for our protection and for your protection as well. We do not condone violence of any kind or violent rhetoric of any kind. We've let it be known that we're peacefully looking for a referendum and a democratic process to giving the people their liberation. And please be mindful of your speech for your protection and for our protection, as we will be mindful of our speech for your protection and for our protection. With that being said, I know that I'm not sure Dr. Isusayo is on stage at this point, but Mr. Olalikon, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I've always been an advocate of dialogue. There's nothing that is too hard to do if actually we have the love of every individual in this country. Like I usually say, this country belongs to all of us. Every individual has a part of this country, no matter your age. Even a day-old child, in fact, 1 hour old child, is a part of this country and is a stakeholder in this country called Nigeria. As Yoruba man, as Igbo, as Hausa, as Kanuri, as every tribe has a stake in this country. And the only thing we can do together, if there are things that needed to be sorted out, is to sit down together and talk about it. The idea of some people saying some people cannot talk, some people don't have the right to talk, or some people are not in the position to talk, doesn't arise. If you look at the number of people that are in the government today, they are not up to 10% of the population of Nigeria. They are not up to 10%. So those 10% cannot be saying this is what we should do, this is what we should not do. We gave you this country and we told you that we have five refineries. Put these five refineries in motion. Let them begin to refine oil, crude oil for that we take from our own land for us. You couldn't do that. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You didn't tell us the reason behind your inability to put that refinery in motion. That is one thing. That is one fundamental thing that you have not done, and you are wrong in that aspect, because we gave you this country to rule for us. You are not our. You are not. You didn't buy it from us. It was a vote that kept you in that place. It wasn't because you came and you negotiate and we never say, okay, take, give us money. No, you solicited for the votes and you got the votes and you are there, and there are things you must do. That is your responsibility. So when you refuse to carry out those responsibilities, people should be able to ask you, so call you attention that you are wrong. You couldn't do this. And we as individuals in this country have the right to now sit down in our corners and begin to think, what can I say, what can I do to be a part of this country, to be part of the solution to this country. That was what brought about the issue of self-determination in the first place. Because we have seen it from 1999, when the constitution was given to us by a few individuals that didn't even take us into consideration. If I have something I want to say that could be of help in the constitution and that will affect me personally as a stakeholder in this country, we are given the constitution, and the constitution has been enforced. And all of us have seen the trajectory. We have seen the way the country is moving. We have seen the directions the country is moving. And we discovered that, okay, this country is not even moving at all. This is from one failure to the other. And we can see it. Everybody have eyes. We can see it. We're not blind. Even if anybody is trying to rub pancake on it, we can see. If somebody is trying to make a stick to look like human being, we can see it. This is affecting everybody. Either you are in Nigeria or you are in the diaspora. You have people that live here in Nigeria. Today, a 50 kg bag of rice is 33,000 naira. Today, people are queuing up at the filling station. Today, just today, Wednesday, 9th of February. It started yesterday night. People are already in the filling station queuing up to buy fuel. These are what we face every day. So these are the things we talk about. So after 1999, we did election. OBJ came in, and he did his own. He did this, he did that. We said, okay, he didn't do it well. Then we transitioned to another government. Then Jonathan era came in after Yaradua. Then everybody was complaining. In fact, we went to the road to lead protest that this is not
Hello?
right.
Oh, there we go. We lost you for 2 seconds.
Hey, yeah, okay. Sorry about that. So I said after OBJ, Jonathan came in. And when Jonathan came in, we also said, okay, this is not right. The country is not moving very well. So we need to breathe. Things are not being put in place. Insecurity is of high order. We don't know what is going on with our refinery. With the same complaint we complained, the same thing we said for Jonathan. Then some people came in and said, okay, we can bring change. Change can come. Then we all believe in the change. We believe in the change so heavily that, the moment this government comes in, there's going to be a change to everything we have been talking about. And they gave us a slogan. They call it change. Then the moment they came in, then the next thing we saw was for a change from failure to deeper failure. This is not libel. This is not slander. It's something we can all see. I'm also a part of this country. And nobody can tell me I don't have eyes to see. So the next thing for us to say is, okay, if election cannot work, if people will get into power and begin to gather their own people and begin to put them under their own arm to run this country, then maybe if you not divide it into compartments, the Yoruba has always been a nation The Igbos have always been a nation because by the virtue of language, we are not together. We were pulled together by some people that don't know our heritage. Then, if you love this country, if you love every individual in this country, I don't think this should be an argument anywhere. It's something that somebody, those 10% in government, can sit together and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Let's pull everybody together. Representative from the Yoruba land come. Representative from the Igbo land come. From the Kanuri, from every area come. Now, what do we do? How do we run this country? How do we divide it? How do we be together in tribe so we can speak the same language? So if anybody is doing anything wrong, we can go to the Agbole and ask for his father. That your son is the one in this local government is not doing it right, and nobody will ask us why we have gone to his Agbole. Oh no, then so this is what we are asking about. That's why we're talking about self-determination. It's not because we hated some people. No, it's about us. It's about every individual in this country. So the only solution to this country is let's come together and dialogue. If truly you love this country, if truly you love the people in this country, if truly you love those people that beg for money on the road every day, if truly you love you love those people that cannot travel in the night again, that cannot travel early in the morning again, if truly you love those people, those children that were kidnapped in the north and will never return, if truly you love those parents that are paying ransom on their school children, the children that have to go to school and they were kidnapped and they have to pay ransom, if truly you love them, I think there's need for us to sit together and discuss this thing. I yield.
Can I say something?
Yes, please go ahead. It's
Oh,
an
we're
open
running a
floor.
PTR.
No, no, no. It's an open floor. It's
Oh,
really just popcorn
all
style.
right, thank you. And when I'm done talking, you can send me back because I'm actually attending to something else. Uh, some of us here, I believe that majority of us, we've heard about Panama paper and all that when they were bringing up the corruption case through WikiLeaks a few years ago. Now, this morning, uh, David Hunde, which we all know very well, and some other guys, uh, is a general knowledge about some of the top guys, especially the northern oligarchy. Now, the previous speaker, when he was speaking about maybe the ideal situation in Nigeria. For more than 6 months now, I don't waste my saliva and energy talking about ideal situation because we know this country is not ideal. We have gatekeepers who do not qualify for the position they are holding, and they are like thieves. And as they say, a thief cannot come to your house to rob you, and you go on your knee and beg that thief, and that thief will listen. It will only be an aberration for that thief to listen to your begging. What you need to have is a higher power than the weapon the thief has brought to your house before you can overpower him and he won't end up robbing you. That is logic. So for you to keep thinking that you beg the current leaders or set of incoming leaders, or will I say looters, coming into position of power in Nigeria, you are deluding yourself. You are wasting your energy and so on and so forth. Now, coming back to the issue of the Panama Papers, about top echelons of rich people all over the world in UK, in US, how they hide their money, tax evasion, tax avoidance. Now, it happened that Abba Kiari, the head of NNPC, director of NNPC, and who is the Minister of Petroleum, Buhari himself. And people will come here and say they are slandering the leaders. Buhari is the Minister of Petroleum for 8 years. Okay, now Abba Kiari, director of NNPC. Now they are talking about bad fuel in circulation. It now happened that MRS, if you do come to Nigeria, you know MRS petrol station. So they were trying to slander MRS that, oh, they're the one that put the bad fuel into circulation. So MRS had to release a press notice that, oh, don't blame us. It wasn't us. We have to protect our name. We are very responsible. It's actually this other company. So they mentioned the company. Oh, they were the one who imported the petrol. So people now asking MRS, how come they are the one? And they said they are the sole importer. Now, for more than 2 weeks on different platforms, we've been talking about subsidy. Oh, they cancel subsidy. They don't want to stop the money coming into subsidy. Can you imagine the subsidy for the importation of petrol into Nigeria market is going solely to one company? One company. When they went to look at the Panama Papers about that company, they saw about Kiari, was a Melo Kiari or something. You know, there are many of them bearing Kiari. The current director of NNPC is a board of direct. Is actually one of the director of the company through that WikiLeaks papers. You know, this thing goes deep. So the current MD of NNPC at the same time is actually a co-director in another company that is the sole importer of petrol into Nigeria. And that importer of petrol into Nigeria is the sole, collector of over a trillion, or how did they even calculate it? I think they said 3 trillion a year, or is it 3 trillion a month in Naira? I don't collect my data in Naira anymore. So they now come to ask for it. That is this not misrepresentation? Or how will I say, how do they even say conflict of interest? That you are the one benefiting from subsidy the government is paying, and you are also the director of NNPC, a state-owned company. How will you ever find solution to the importation of? And why did I raise this? Why did I come up? I had somebody still talking about refinery. Oh, they have to fix it. Can you stop all this? They are never going to fix it. The Dangote refinery is another scam. You know, these people, they think they are smart, but anybody can be a Yahoo boy. Anybody can be a thief. You don't need so much intelligence to be a thief. That's what they don't know. For you to actually do something worthwhile with your life, that's what takes intelligence. These people, with their feudalistic way, they want to keep people as paupers so they can use them as weapon when it comes to perpetuation of their power. When it comes to election time, once they give you 1 million naira, they know you go to any length to shout on the social media. Instead of empowering the youth, empowering the people, fixing the refinery. If you spend money, okay, let's even say you continue with the importation of fuel. If you have the genuine interests of Nigerians at heart, it doesn't matter. You can even borrow money and fix the refinery. Within few years, they will recoup that money over and over and over again. So when we're talking, let's be realistic. There's so much going on. Now, I always come to Nigeria like maybe a few times a year. I used to run a farm in Ogun State. Like 2 years ago, even before the whole insecurity came up, I closed everything down because the Chinese, they've given them license. So many aspects of the agricultural or value chain has been bastardized. If you talk about fishery, destroyed. If you talk about tomato, destroyed. Cassava, I'm telling you reality. Except you have not invested your money into Nigeria, you will still be beating around the bush. You won't really understand, the effect of bad government policy and policy somersault. You know, I just want you to know that about the issue of refinery and the issue of subsidy. It's never going to be solved. The whole money is going to the people in the north. Okay, that's why you have to, before you contest for any federal election in Nigeria, you have to pay homage to the people controlling that subsidy money.
Is it me or did we lose Serve? I think that Serve, we lost you for a little bit. Maybe if you're back, are you back? Serve, are you back? Okay, so I don't think Serve is back, but I wanted to share with the room this article, right? So this is another article that came out on the 9th, which is today, 9th of February, depending on what part of the world you are. I guess it's still 9th in most parts. Anyway, so this article essentially was talking about um, 2023, 14 governors, 13 ex governors, 3 former Senate presidents meet to rescue Nigeria. 100 political and thought leaders, including 14 current governors, 13 former governors, as well as 3 former Senate presidents, have met in Lagos to rescue Nigeria and map a new consensus for national rebirth. The leaders under the aegis of the 2022 committee said Nigeria must be secured, peaceful, and united before the nation can have candidates for political offices in 2023. This was made known in a statement released on Wednesday and co signed on behalf of the conveners by This Day newspaper. Publisher Unduka, as well as Borno born politician and chairman, board of trustees of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Kasim Ibrahim Imam. According to the statement, the leaders met on February 4th to 6th, 2022. It, however, did not reveal the names of the 100 leaders who met in Lagos. But the Punch gathered that top chieftains from both the ruling All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party attended the event. The participants also comprised southern and northern leaders. Some of those in attendance that our correspondent could confirm included a former governor of Ogun State, Benga Daniel, former Senate President and Secretary to the Federal Government of Nigeria, Ayim Pius Ayim, who is also a PDP presidential aspirant, ex-Senate President Bukola Saraki, former governor of Imo State, former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, and former deputy governor of Osun State, Iola Omisore. In the statement released on Wednesday, they said the leaders worked in 3 subcommittees of national security, the economy, and Nigeria in transition, noting that the participants recognize that there is an urgent need to seek common ground and irreducible minimum actions to stabilize the polity at this critical time of transition. The statement was titled "Eminent Business, Political Society, and Thought Leaders Meet in Lagos to Build Consensus for National Rebirth." Essentially, I think that it's not that long. The committee, this is the final paragraph, I'm just going to read this. The committee believes that what Nigeria needs today is for all patriots to come together to rescue our nation from all political, economic, and security threats and promote the unity of Nigeria. We call on all patriotic volunteers who are willing and able to join this collective effort to stabilize the system so we can all build a new Nigeria we can all be proud of. And this came out today. The meeting they had was between the 4th to the 6th, so this past weekend. But what does this show? I feel like this just shows the handwriting on the wall. I think everyone at this point is aware, except you don't know what is going on. And there are people that honestly just don't have access to this information, right? I mean, I was reading a news article about this town in Ogun State that has been in darkness for 10 years. And I'm going to send that link to whoever wants to. You cannot make this stuff up. You literally cannot make this stuff up. This community in Ogun State has been in darkness for 10 years, no electricity. However, going back to this article, everyone is now coming out with one statement here, another cryptic statement there, some secret underground meetings here. I mean, 100 people met, but we don't know them because the names were not released. I mean, do it with your chest. Everybody knows at this point that this is a sinking ship. Sooner than later, this ship will be sunk like the Titanic. Okay, like this ship is already sinking. All we're doing right now is jackbuying. Everybody's just jackbuying out of this ship because nobody wants to sink with the ship. Unfortunately, there will be people that will sink with this ship because, like the Titanic, there were people that couldn't leave. There will be people that can't jackbuy like the rest of us are jackbuying, right? So at the end of the day, people are now at this time I mean, I like using the time because it's like it's 1 o'clock and y'all are just having meetings about this rebirth, national rebirth, and then you wonder what. So you're just recognizing that things are not working. You had all this time when things were really not quite working to recognize the need to do something, but now you're having meetings, titling the meetings economic security and social thoughts, like fancy titles. I wonder how much y'all paid for whatever meetings you went for the conference. Another opportunity to siphon funds from taxpayer money and the money that's supposed to be allocated to the public. You went and sat. Are you kidding me? Everybody knows what the problem of this country is. And you're saying that let's all work together as quote unquote patriotic Nigerians. Do you want to know what Nigeria? Just meet an average person. You don't need to go into any meeting to have this conversation as to what is going on in the country. This meeting is a waste, as a matter of fact, waste of space, waste of time. Because if you walked up to a market woman in anywhere in Nigeria and asked her, Madam, what are the problems? Just a simple survey of the ordinary civilian. Now, yet again, these people that destroyed this ship, that sunk this ship, are the ones now meeting to talk about national rebirth. They are now hiding their names. Like, why can't you come out with your chest and say, I was a part of this meeting? 100 people met, ex-governors. When you had an opportunity, Senate president, when you had an opportunity aren't you part of the problem? Did you not contribute to this problem? But all of a sudden, you're saying as patriotic Nigerians, well, that ship already sailed, honey, because we used to be patriotic Nigerians when we actually thought, when we were ignorant. Well, I used to be a patriotic Nigerian when I was ignorant, when I didn't realize that there were 68 exclusive lists that is hindering the progress of my people. Maybe you can start there. You can't tell me that as a former Senate president, you don't understand what the Constitution has in it. You can't tell me that you didn't know that you had an opportunity to reconstruct, to review the Constitution at the Senate to present a bill for this stuff. And now you're meeting in closed rooms on a weekend in February, with these bougie conferences, sitting at a table, coming up with bougie titles, telling people to come together as patriots so that we can save this sinking ship. I'm gonna mute you, Akinyele. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute you. So at this point, this is all, I'm sorry to say, BS. Actually, I'm not really sorry to say, because even you don't need ex-Senate president to tell you what is up. Sanusi is coming out saying that Nigeria is living on extra time, being cryptic. Extra time. Like, what does that mean, sir? Like, extra time. And then y'all are meeting in private rooms and behind closed doors, talking about like rebirth of a nation, trying to build some patriotic. What are we doing? I am gonna mute you, Akinyele, respectfully. What are we doing? You contributed to the mess that is Nigeria today. What are we doing? Like, literally, what are we doing? And they had the guts, and some of them are hiding their names. You destroyed the country, then come out with your chest. And you're not putting the burden on the ordinary civilian, saying that this is the time to come together to be patriotic. In what ways? Is it the civilian that will start the process of a constitutional review? I just want to know. Is it the civilian that will sit at the table and tear apart the constitution, remove the parts that says that we cannot protect ourselves? You're talking about national security, which was one of the fancy titles they gave one of the themes of their meetings. But you are aware that the reason why people cannot protect themselves is because the federal government is actually in control of the military and the police. So there is no state police. This stuff is not rocket science. Do these people think we're fools? And now you're publishing, and Punch is publishing it with so much pride. The title, Rescue Nigeria. From what? We're actually rescuing Nigeria from you. Look in the mirror. Like, y'all are sitting at the table, but y'all don't realize that Nigeria needs to be rescued from y'all. Like, do you understand that you guys are the problem of Nigeria? And you all are now, the problem is now sitting down to discuss the problem and prefer solutions to the problem. I am so done, highly irritated with the pretentious superstition, like with the grandstanding, with the attempt to gaslight the citizens. Who are you? People trusted you with their votes. I mean, we don't really know. I mean, we would like to think they got there legitimately, but we can't really say that because our electoral process is highly broken. Because we do recognize that sometimes votes are bought. So people are coerced. And now it's 2022, and you recognize that no, the people are fighting back. The people are finally gaining a voice, and you're now meeting to quote unquote rescue Nigeria. But let's ask, from what? Because when we ask from what, now we might start finding answers. And the answers might just be, guess what? You destroyed the country. The people trusted you with everything, and you took that country and you destroyed it. You exploited it. You took the resources, you lined your foreign offshore bank accounts with money that does not belong to you. And you have the guts to take that money that is left to go have fancy meetings on a beautiful February weekend when people are suffering and dying. You had this fancy meeting. Some of you are saying you don't want the press to know who you are. 100 of you, only a couple, a few names were out there. And you're telling us that we want to rescue Nigeria. I am done. If anyone wants to contribute, please feel free to come up because at the end of the day, Nigerians have had it. Please go ahead. It's a free floor. Just go ahead and speak.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. Ex-governors, Senate pres, ex. A lot of these people have had probably two terms. That's probably 8 years, and they haven't done anything. And I think that word patriotic Nigeria, I don't think it exists because poor people, there's nothing to be patriotic about. You know, the politicians who are chopping all the money, if they cared about the country, they won't be chopping all the money. So so that word doesn't exist. It's so sad. I it's just, I think Nigeria, it's just because of the social media and stuff like that. It's now that we're beginning to learn a lot of things about the country, and it's like, as long as I've known the country, it's like a scam. You know, a country, not even a country, a country of nations, a contraption just put together uh, for the business transactions of the West and the elite, ruling elite, so to speak. It's really sad. Um, Moving forward, I think it's best, we start thinking about going our separate ways, and starting from scratch. Because, like you said, this constitution, exclusive list, 60 items, another, I think, is it 30 items, whereby the governor and the government, but it's still the government has the, can overrule the thing. So basically, 90 of the thingy, pretty much the whole constitution all the powers is in the center, and and that document is locked all our destination. You know what I mean? If I'm in the south and I have gold in my backyard, I don't have any right to it. It's all federal government. And who is the federal government? The federal government seems to be uh, 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 people from a certain group, and their sympathizers in the south, in the west, all over the place doing their bidding. but they don't have any power. They just yes sir to these guys. So yeah, the present setup is not working. We just have to go our separate ways. Me, I'm a Yoruba person. I'll be happy if we have a Yoruba nation because I know it's going to be one of the greatest nation on earth. We're just too intelligent. Look at the guys that speak on Clubhouse here, the intelligent guys. Even a lot of it is common sense. I mean, back there it's like they think backwards. You know, they're like in the Stone Age, the analog. We're in a digital age now. So the present system is never going to work. It's 61 or 62 years old
Exactly.
now.
How do we go?
The next 62 years is going to be worse. You know, these guys, they like a feudal system whereby they have all the power, all the money, and they just set the bulldogs, the army on you. If you say one thing, what I mean, if you have this kind of conversation there, they would have rounded us up. What I mean, put us in a Black Maria, lock us up somewhere and throw away the key. What I mean? So yeah, we don't have a nation. As like I said before, we don't have human rights. You don't have freedom of speech. You don't have freedom of association. You don't have freedom to defend yourself. All the basic human rights thing is no existent. What I mean? Yeah. So you know, nothing's gonna work there. You know. In fact, that Nigeria, it shouldn't be called Nigeria. It should be called Lie Nigeria because it's a total lie. It's a scam. So yeah, that's just my two bits. Fine. Thank you.
Absolutely, Nigeria, right? And something that just occurred to me as you were speaking was the fact that you talked about the number of years cumulative that this 100 individuals, I mean 8 years each. I don't know, there would be overlaps, but if we really wanted to do the math, it would be an average of at least 25 years, and that's like a quarter of 100 years, and that's probably even way less than this 100 people combined, and meeting up and thinking that you had 25 years to change the country, but this 2 weekend of you guys eating some caviar, drinking some wine, maybe eating pounded yam and egusi soup. I don't know what you eat, but like, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Like, you really do believe that, um I guess this 2 days would help you fix the problem that you haven't been able to fix over 25-ish years, plus or minus, right? Give or take. So this is a situation that we are in at this point, and I think that the writing is on the wall. We are getting there, and I think everyone is recognizing that, listen, we have to start talking now. That's why they're meeting in rooms, and that's why Sanusi is coming out and trying to warn them, y'all, all the time. Listen, we will get our nations, that is certain, right? I think it's just now them waking up to the fact that, yo, listen, people are asking for their nations, they're asking for their independence. We cannot pretend any longer. We cannot pretend to be silent, right? Because we have Ninas on the one hand saying this is the pathway, there will not be elections in 2023. Nunes is talking about a constitutional force majeure. Nunes is talking to political parties and telling them why we cannot go to the polls in 2023, because going to the polls in 2023 is continuing to reactivate this constitution that is illegal, and your whole country is built on the constitution. Literally, your country does not exist without your constitution, because you have claimed to be a federal republic, right? We call ourselves the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I mean, they can go ahead and say, well, we're now a dictatorship. I mean, we already knew this country runs like a dictatorship, like a caliphate. I know that Tonu Nandi refers to Nigeria as a caliphate because that's how it runs. And so, but as long as you continue to speak and say that the country is it's a democracy, then you have to listen to the voice of the people. You have to give the people what they want. And what are we asking for? What are we asking for? We're asking for a referendum. We're asking before the 2023 elections. We want a referendum to do to go through a constitutional review process because the constitution is illegal. And what are the things we want in the constitutional review process? I already said it. I want the self-determination for indigenous nations to be added to be recognized by our constitution. I want the constitution to remove the 68 exclusive list that is within the power and control of the federal government. I want the constitution to make the coup plotters, whether past coups and if there will be any future coups, accountable. Keep them accountable. Bring them to book. Let them go through the judiciary system and pay for their evil deeds. Let the constitution include that, right? And there was one more I don't remember now, but at the end of the day, this is where we are, and it's sad. And I just want to use this opportunity because we cannot pretend that it's not been a rough last 48 hours for people that speak for self-determination. But here's the thing: we will never remain silent. We will never remain silent because we recognize that what we have to do is bigger and greater than us, and it's not for us. It's beyond us. It's for the next generation and the next generation after that, for eternity. We will not remain silent because we recognize that there are people that are being oppressed as we speak, and they don't know why. We recognize there are people that pray and believe that God will come down from heaven to give them light. Communities in Ogun State that haven't seen electricity in 10 years, not a day of electricity. We recognize that we have been heavily disenfranchised. We cannot fish and engage in exportation of fish because the federal government is in control of that. We recognize the gross levels of injustices that exist. We recognize that people will use state apparatus to oppress civilians. We recognize that even though the judiciary system exists in Nigeria, people will bypass the judiciary system and bully people using state operatives like the military, like the police, to bully people. We recognize that the starvation index in Nigeria currently is high, and that there is predictions that the next generation will be smaller than the past generation because people don't have access to food, to nutrients. Our children are starving. We recognize that the pollution index is high. In certain parts of the country, like the Niger Delta, people cannot breathe in fresh air. We recognize that the levels of morbidities in this part of the country are exponential because of pollution. Pollution that does not benefit them in any way. The oil is in the land and they exploit the oil, they send the oil out to other countries. The money comes back to the federal government coffers, and the money is distributed the way it is distributed, corruptly, and the people continue to suffer. We recognize the sufferings of people that get attacked, innocent people, for no reason, either traveling using the roads and they get attacked by bandits, herdsmen, terrorists disguised as herdsmen with AK-47, oppressing innocent civilians. We recognize that a home is not a home if you cannot be at peace. That a man can go to bed with his family at night and not wake up to see the next day. And why is that? Because as a man is sleeping, the wicked man comes in the dead of the night with their AK-47, creeps into the house, pulls this man out, trigger warning, pulls out his pregnant wife, trigger warning, pulls out his child, his daughter, rapes his wife, slashes her stomach open, pulls out her unborn child, and slaughter them all to death, butcher them all to death, gruesomely butcher them all to death. We recognize that even though Nigeria is not officially at war, the number of deaths in this past 2021 is way higher than the number of deaths in Syria that is officially at war. We recognize that the people do not have the power. The power does not belong to the people. That a farmer can have his land burned down with no repercussion. Like Obasanjo had his land burned down, but Obasanjo is blessed because he used to be a former statesman. He has more financial capacity to bear the loss. But even with that, Obasanjo was furious. Now imagine that man in that village who has nothing but his farmland, who's struggling and wakes up to the disaster of his farm being burned down and his crops completely decimated with nobody to speak and advocate for him. Because even when you catch this terrorist and you hand them over to the police, then we hear about the repentant Boko Haram. Then we hear about the repentant bandits, the repentant unknown gunmen who are not allowed to pay for their actions. We recognize all of these things. And if you look at my PTR right now, Syria's war has been going on for 11 years, killing 3,746 people last year. Nigeria is not officially at war, but its death toll from insecurity in 2021 was at least 10,366, meaning that an average of 28 Nigerians were killed each day of last year by deliberate malicious intent. 3,000 compared to 10,000, that's times 3 for a country that is not at war officially. Times 3 of the deaths that a country that is officially at war has experienced. But we are not at war. Who is speaking for these people? Or is life no longer important? Because we've seen so many deaths now, one more death does not faze us. One more death does not bother us because we're used to it. Because if you speak, they will threaten you. If you speak, they will use state apparatus to arrest you and throw you in a dungeon. They would especially target you if they know that you're vulnerable, you're young, you're ignorant, you don't know your rights, or maybe you know your rights, but you don't have access to the resources that will help you to protect your rights. You cannot afford a Falana. You're not a Showore. I mean, you cannot afford the most expensive and most professional, most experienced lawyer in the country. So they will pick you up as you enjoy a bottle of beer with your friends. They will lure you and they would arrest you. And they will drive you to a police station and they will take your story and they will exploit it. And they will take you and make a mockery of you. And they will make you a scapegoat for others like you that dare to speak up. And then they will say that somebody saved you, that they're so kind. They look down upon you with pity because you're so young. They had some compassion for you. Otherwise, they would have left you to rot in the Nigerian police system. So they will save you, and they will come on social media and they will tell your story to anyone that cares to listen. Oh, look how I saved him. Oh, look how I saved her. Out of the goodness of my heart, I saved her. Out of the goodness of my heart, I saved him. Because he talks too much. He was so rude to me. So I decided to use my power and get the police to arrest him because I was angry. How dare you talk to me like that? How dare you insult me, you nobody? How dare you insult me, you church rat? No economic backing, no financial backing, but you dare talk to me on social media? I will arrest you and I will use my power to pick you up as you enjoy a bottle of beer, and I will throw you in the police station, and I will take my iPhone 12 and I will take a picture with you, and I will take that picture and I'll put it on social media to teach people a lesson that if you dare speak up, this will be your fate. And I will use that to gag people and strangulate them. I will take my feet and step on their necks as I continue to siphon them of every resource that belongs to them. I will continue to choke them with my oppression and my wickedness. How dare they speak? How dare we speak? How dare we speak to the oppression of the people? How dare we speak to the wickedness of the wicked that exists in the country and entity and the contraction called Nigeria? Who gave us the mandate? Who gave us the mandate to speak? How dare we speak? I'm done speaking for now.